Hello, hello, hello. I hope you can see me. Hopefully, I don't have any technical difficulties today. Hello, everyone. How are you doing on this wonderful, wonderful, what is it, Tuesday already? Is it Tuesday? I probably don't have the date right. Monday. I'm, yeah, I'm open. I'm like one day in to the week. But it is Monday, and I'm very, very grateful to be here. So grateful to God for giving us this wonderful breath that we often take advantage of. Today, I want to cover a very interesting topic. It is a topic that is very much related to current affairs of our world. As you know, Fanta Kamara Uncensored is a geopolitical podcast where we speak about events that are impacting the entire globe and then make an effort to tie it back to Africa. Because oftentimes Africa feels that they're very removed, and I think it's really important to be able to just present information in a way that allows us as a people to connect the dots. Today is going to be about the US and Iran peace deal. Um, I know most think that it's one that probably would never happen after several attempts, but we are going to remain very, very hopeful. So, without further ado, thank you again for tuning in. I'm glad that you're here. You are my people. You are my tribe, and I appreciate you. Please do share the show. Make sure to add your comments to the comment section. Let's make this an engaging and learning experience for everyone. The title of our show today is The Switzerland Accord Inside the Final Post Summit Roadmap and the New Global Order. In this episode of Fanta Kamara Uncensored, we deliver the exclusive post summit breakdown of the newly concluded high level talks in Switzerland. Discover the official 60-day roadmap born from the Islamabad MOU, aka the Trump peace deal, the truth behind the Strait of Hormuz verification mechanisms, and how Iran's strategic restraint forced Washington to issue massive oil waivers. We exposed how Israel has repeatedly tried to scuttle the ceasefire in Lebanon and break down the massive economic ripple effects hitting Africa today. Again, welcome to Fanta Kamara Uncensored, where we give it to you absolutely raw, unfiltered truth, and uncompromising truth that the mainstream media is too terrified to touch, at least not in this narrative. See, the high level sessions of the Lake Lucerne Summit in Bürgenstock, Switzerland, have just officially wrapped up. The corporate media is still trying to spin this as a triumph for the West, but we are setting the timeline straight because that is beyond important. Before these leaders ever stepped foot in Switzerland, let's understand that an initial agreement was reached, and I'm going to go over it. It was referred to as the Islamabad MOU, as it was constructed there, orchestrated by Pakistan. Iran acted with immense strategic restraint, as we mentioned, navigating an unprovoked regional war. It did not start. Yet, as the world watched, Israel systematically tried to scuttle that initial peace momentum by launching devastating escalations into southern Lebanon. What is it with this expansion project? We're all going to die. What's the need of it? Wants to expand its border all across the Middle East. But I digress. Iran's resilience broke the back of Western sanction. Tehran's stance, see, it forced Washington to the table And the high-level talks in Switzerland have just concluded with a firm 60-day roadmap to implement the final peace. Let's keep our fingers crossed that it actually happens. Today, we're going to break down the definitive outcomes, as mentioned. The monetary mechanism for the Strait of Hormuz, of course, is part of the deal. The immediate 60-day suspension of Iran oil sanctions. I'm glad that is part of the deal. Iran deserves it. The tense reality of the Israel-Hezbollah conflict and the massive economic shockwave that is absolutely going to impact Africa. I want to share with you the news clip, a brief clip from the conclusion of that summit. Let me go ahead and add it to the stage here.
Are reporting encouraging progress toward a lasting peace deal. NBC's Keir Simmons joins us with the very latest. Keir, good morning.
Savannah, good morning to you. And the Vice President just speaking, calling yesterday a very, very good day and saying that they made a lot of progress. The Iranian high-level delegation has already left after what it said was 18 hours of tense talks in this picturesque location. The road to the resort where the talks took place has now been closed. Local police telling us that another delegation, likely the Vice President, is set to depart. This morning, after a long day of talks with Iran, Vice President J.D. Vance indicating some progress is being made, saying soon after arriving in Switzerland,
peace is never easy. Peace always requires a little bit of work. It always requires a little bit of give and take.
Pictured late last night, hunched over a computer with President Trump's son-in-law and Qatar's Prime Minister. Then an early morning statement from Qatar and Pakistan, the talks' mediators, saying all sides agreed a roadmap towards reaching a final deal within 60 days. Earlier, high tension in the room, senior Iranian officials refusing to shake hands with US delegates in front of the cameras. A diplomat with knowledge of the talks telling NBC News. Here you can see the leader of Iran's delegation with Vice President Vance in the background looking on. Then the Iranians leave. One major disruption, continued Israeli and Hezbollah strikes in Lebanon, despite a new ceasefire. Israel is not at the talks.
We've seen great progress over the last just couple of days in ensuring that the ceasefire holds in Lebanon. These things are always a little bit messy.
Minutes later from Washington, President Trump posting, if Iran doesn't stop its proxies in Lebanon, we'll hit Iran very hard again. Iran's lead negotiator responding with his own post, writing, the US better be careful. Our armed forces are ready to respond. At one point, Iranian hardliners telling their media the Strait of Hormuz had been closed again. The US military reporting ships continue to pass. President Trump threatening Iran's delegation that if the strait was closed, you won't have a country. You won't even make it back to your expletive country. But this morning's statement from Switzerland saying the two sides agreed on working groups to focus on issues like nuclear and sanctions, calling the atmosphere positive and constructive. And Savannah, in those comments just a moment ago, the Vice President saying they have made progress on a number of fronts, including keeping the Strait of Hormuz open, deconfliction in Lebanon, and allowing nuclear inspectors back into Iran. Savannah?
All right.
So, as you can see there, let's add back to the stage. Yep, there I am. I'm telling you, a day doesn't go by without some hiccups here. I desperately need an intern like in the background or a really good producer to help me out here so I can just focus on this. But as we saw, right? So they have gone and had these talks. It is the hope for the world because the entire world is truly struggling and suffering from this godforsaken war. It was never in anyone's benefit to get started in the first place. And I'm just really elated that talks are finally back on after there were some deliberate efforts to absolutely do away with them from Israel. In that delegation was the US Vice President J.D. Vance, as we saw, and facing him from the Islamic Republic was Iranian Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf. Analyzing a sitting American vice president personally leading these intense sessions says something, because it's a massive pivot from any 2026 geopolitical podcast. It is absolutely proof that the Western military option has failed. In fact, it just doesn't work. I really wish they would wake up from that slumber and understand that Washington was forced to seek diplomatic exit or a more diplomatic exit strategy after that realization. Now, Ghalibaf from Iran walked into Switzerland, of course, backed by a nation who has held its ground, and that they did not anticipate. I think they always thought that Iran would be another Venezuela, but unfortunately, what Iran has exemplified in every way, shape, and form, militarily, strategically, intellectually, has surpassed and exceeded all of their expectations, and there is no other cards left, as they say, in the decks, but to come to the table and actually try to arrive at some type of peace deal. As we mentioned, Iran, after being just timelessly provoked, you're talking 40 years, they have been wanting this war with Iran time and time again. One US president after the other. And unfortunately, I don't know what they have on Trump or what is in the Epstein files that they got him to wage a war on Iran, and they learned the hard way. But let's just be completely uncensored about how they got to Switzerland in the first place. You see, this summit did not happen because of Western goodwill. We know, as I mentioned, if they had their will, they would just bomb everyone to smithereens, create a quagmire situation of the sort everywhere around the world, as we've seen from Africa to South America to Asia, and the list goes on. Let's be reminded, though, that this peace talk, this second round, was engineered by intense back-channel diplomacy of Pakistan and Qatar. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and the military leadership were physically present at Bürgenstock alongside Qatari mediators, bridging a gap that the West simply could not close on its own, even if it tried. I want to go over the 14-point MOU here that Israel tried to blow up. A couple of weeks ago, I'm sure, unless you live under a rock, I hope you don't, Trump had announced a 14-point deal with Iran, and the response was mixed. In fact, Iran or Israel, one of the cabinet member, their favorite cabinet member, this guy is just cuckoo for cuckoo puffs. He is beyond crazy. I've never seen a person like this before. I don't know how people can elect someone like this who is just a terrorist, homicidal maniac, in my opinion, and many others as well. He does nothing to represent this nation and continue to just, I wouldn't even say feed into the rhetoric, because it's true. Israel is a terrorist state and has been, with what they're doing in Palestine and continue to do in Lebanon, in Syria, and elsewhere, just because they want to, again, expand their borders. I think it is absolutely ridiculous. And Africa should not sleep on this, because what we are seeing is that they're buying a lot of land in Africa. It is really important that we start to pay attention to what those land grabs mean. I know in East Africa, also in West Africa, just a little nugget I'm going to leave you with before I jump into the 14 points here. Understand that a nation such as Israel, who does not have any natural resources of its own, at least not minerals, is the largest diamond exporter in the world. Where do you think they get their diamonds from? I'll give you a hint. Of course, Africa and Liberia have been a huge contributor to that metric for Israel. They get a lot of their diamonds from Liberia and from Africa, and they have no mineral resources, and yet they're the largest diamond exporter in the world, infiltrating again our systems, our politics, our governance with money. But this was interesting because Trump definitely lashed back. I'm gonna play quickly like what he
Not
said
happy
here.
with the way Israel has handled themselves with Lebanon and with Hezbollah. They should have been able to do the job faster. It just goes on forever. And when that happens, it throws a negative light on the big deal, and that's the deal with Iran. I'll tell you what, Israel's fighting Hezbollah too long, and too many people are being killed. And you don't have to knock down an apartment house every time you're looking for somebody, because there are a lot of people in those apartment houses, and they're not all Hezbollah, that I can tell you. And I suggested to Israel to let Syria take care of Hezbollah. Because to be honest with you, I think they do a better job of doing it. I want to mention Iran. We appreciate the relationship we've had over the short period of time with Iran. The primary thing, we can talk about the Iran deal all day long. We're not investing any money. We have the right to if we want, but we're not investing any money.
Something else I want to share is this image here where, as I said, he just wasn't having it, and he told them, you guys need to get your ducks in the row. Essentially, don't mess with me. You cannot do without the United States. So don't think you are the big dogs here. And I'm usually not a Trump fan, but I did appreciate how he stood up to Israel for once when it came to this deal. And as I said, I'm going to go over the initial 14 points deal here. This is from Axio. This was, how they responded. I mean, all of them were just essentially maniacs, barking. Why would anyone want to continue a war that just continues to slaughter so many people just because they feel that they can do that? I think it's beyond ridiculous. So they went all out to try to absolutely ruin this deal, and which is why the US and Iran landed in Switzerland. So if you can see my screen here, I'm probably gonna do it this way. If you can see my screen here, number one, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran and their allies in the current war, by signing this MOU, declare the immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including in Lebanon, and undertake from now on not to initiate any war or any military operation against each other, and to refrain from the threat of use of force against each other, and ensuring the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon. The final deal will confirm the permanent termination of the war on all fronts, including in Lebanon, and other provisions of this paragraph. Keep in mind the emphasis there on Lebanon, because Israel has been insistent on bombing Lebanon and expanding its borders into Lebanon. First it was southern Lebanon. Now it's like whatever they can take, bombing Beirut and all of that. And you realize that every time they do that, they claim to be fighting Hezbollah, which is a very interesting story that a lot of people need to educate themselves about. They claim that Iran is supporting Hezbollah, and Iran is supporting a terrorist, which is Hezbollah. But Hezbollah is really a revolutionary group. Hezbollah was born out of Israel's oppression or Israel's incursion on Lebanon. They grew up as a group of young men to stand up to prevent Israel from taking over their hometown. That's how Hezbollah was born. Perhaps we'll save some time or another day get into that story, but just so you know. So it's quite interesting that they are insistent, even though There was no aggression there. They're insistent on taking Lebanon. Number two, so when the United States made it their first point to emphasize that all force or aggression has to cease in Lebanon, they were like, we're not having this, and started doing everything they can, calling their sister and their brother and their cat and their dog to squash this deal. Number two, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran undertake to respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity and to refrain from interfering in each other's internal affairs. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran commit to negotiating and achieving the final deal in a maximum 60 days, extendable with mutual consent. Number four, immediately upon the signing of this MOU, the United States of America will begin the removal of its naval blockade and any disturbances of impediments against the Islamic Republic of Iran, and will fully end the naval blockade within 30 days. Sounds reasonable. During this period, the traffic of vessels would be in proportion to the numbers of pre-war traffic been restored by the Islamic Republic of Iran. Reasonable, right? Everybody wants the Strait of Hormuz to open. Africa is suffering. Gas prices are up. Cost of fertilizers are up. We cannot produce enough food because we can't get the fertilizer that are required to plant enough food, therefore to harvest. So Africa is starving. We're paying double for gas because of all of this. And that's why it's so important for us to understand why getting to a peaceful deal is so important, because it's not just about Iran, Israel, the US. The people who are suffering the most is really Africa. Let's go to number 4 here, or number 5 here. Upon the signing of this MOU, the Islamic Republic of Iran will make arrangement using its best effort to safe passage of commercial vessels with no charge for 60 days, only from the Persian Gulf to the Sea of Oman and vice versa. The traffic of commercial vessels will immediately start, in considering need for removing the technical and military obstacles demanding by the Islamic Republic of Iran will be instituted within 30 days. The Islamic Republic of Iran will conduct dialogue with the Sultanate of Oman to define the future administration of maritime services in the Strait of Hormuz, in discussion with other Persian Gulf states, in line with the applicable international law. Went on, the United States of America undertakes with regional partners to develop definitive mutually agreed plan with at least $300 billion for the reconstruction and economic development of the Islamic Republic of Iran, which to do all Iran. Like, I mean, they have Iran's money that they have not released. Who does that? Like, how can another country just take like another country's money and just say, like, you know what? We're not going to release it because it's in our currency, and for whatever reason, because we don't feel like it. And I mean, with the level of destruction that they have caused in Iran, they absolutely should be able to pay for the reconstruction, because once again, this war was unprovoked. Iran did not strike the first blow. It did not bomb anybody, unlike, Israel, who is bombing its neighbors left and right, from Yemen to Syria to Palestine, now Lebanon. The list goes on, right? Saudi Arabia, I believe. What was it, Bahrain or Qatar, like the oil field there, it bombed it, which was a false flag to try to put it on Iran. And just, this country has been problematic. In any case, the US has been trying to with this deal, try to get to a peaceful final negotiation point. So number 7, the US undertakes to terminate all types of sanctions against the Islamic Republic of Iran. Rightfully so. Why the heck would you continue to sanction a country just because they want to do what they want to do? If they want to practice a different form of government, it's completely up to them. They are a sovereign country. Why be the bullies of the world? Right? Let's go to number 8. The Islamic Republic of Iran reaffirms that it shall not procure or develop nuclear weapons. This is what they've been after. Iran is finally saying, okay, fine, we're not going to do it. Right? Number 9, pending the final deal, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran agreed to maintain the status quo. The Islamic Republic of Iran will maintain the current status quo of its nuclear program, and the United States will not impose any new sanctions that would not deploy additional forces in the region. Bravo, it sounds fantastic. That's what we want. Stop imposing or stop sticking your nose into a sovereign country business. Like, keep out of it, butt out. Number 10, the United States of America undertakes that immediately upon the signing of this MOU and until the termination of sanctions, the U.S. Department of Treasury will issue waivers for the export of Iranian crude oil. They sanction it. Like, why? Why? Number 11, right? The United States of America undertakes to make fully available for use the frozen or restricted funds and assets of the Islamic Republic of Iran upon the implementation of this MOU. Again, why? Why freeze another country's funds just because it's in US currency or for whatever reason you have justified to have frozen their funds? The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran will mutually agree on the procedures related to the release of these funds during the negotiation. Perfectly normal. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran agreed that an executive mechanism will be established to monitor the successful implementation of this MOU. Reasonable. After signing this MOU and subject to the beginning of the MOU implementation of paragraphs 1, 4, 5, 10, and 11 of this MOU and the continuing implementation of these measures, the United States of America and Islamic Republic of Iran will start negotiations regarding the final deal exclusive on the other paragraphs. Reasonable. The final deal will be endorsed by binding UNSC resolution. All very reasonable. Reasonable, right? So you would think that with that reasonable agreement, with such a reasonable agreement, right? Do not create nuclear weapons, even though Israel has nuclear weapons. Israel is the only country in the Middle East that has nuclear weapons and has refused the IAEA to even inspect their facility. Yet they're crying about Iran developing nuclear weapons. They have nuclear weapons, but has never allowed any inspections of their nuclear arsenal. Yet they're advocating for a country that is nearly 10 times their size and their population. Israel is, and its population are like the size of Jersey. Iran has nearly 100 million people and much larger than the tiny Israel. Yet it's being a nuisance. It's going around and crying as if to say Iran is the one bombing and destabilizing the Middle East. While it's this tiny country that already has a nuclear stockpile, but yet trying to prevent a much larger country that it is bullying and has been bullying for over 40 years not to have nuclear weapons. Let me know what you think about that in the comment section, because I think it's absurd. Okay, now that you see why they wanted to blow that up, because they thought, well, I mean, this doesn't benefit us at all. If the US makes peace with Israel, then we with Iran, then we don't get to take Iranian oil. We don't get to take over their country, right? We would not, of course, without the US continue to fight this war, because the US is the one funding this war for Israel. The US is the one that is providing all of these weapons to Israel to fight these wars. They cannot go in it alone. So it is quite interesting for a country who cannot stand on its own and relies on the United States, for the US to say, like, you know what, like we're done. We're suffering economically. Our people, our economy is literally hitting depression status. Like, we don't want to venture further into this war, right? And Israel will be like, no, you can't back out. We have to continue to fight and kill and steal and plunder, because that's our model. It's quite interesting. Don't get me started. But that's why they wanted to blow this up, because they did not want peace. And I still don't think that they want peace, even with the Switzerland deal. But let's continue. To understand why this newly concluded 60-day roadmap is so historic, you have to look at how hard, as I mentioned, regional actors tried to blow it up. Israel. Right when the team was headed for Switzerland, so J.D. Vance, the Qatari mediators, guess what Israel did? The Pakistani mediators, guess what Israel did? As they got on the plane.
Not happy with the way.
Wait, I'm going to remove this, not this one. As they got on the plane, let me bring it up here. Israel started bombing Lebanon. Yeah, they did. Yes, indeed, they did. um, in an unprecedented way and killed so many, because again, they do not want peace. As much as they cry, "Oh, we're only defending ourselves." How can you be defending yourselves and yet you are the one literally have bombed nearly 6 countries in the last year? How is that possible? But here is the clip. Just when they were boarding. Oh man.
There was an airstrike this morning on this house. It was targeted by Israeli warplanes at 8:30 a.m. People were sleeping inside. Children, a woman, her 2 children, and her husband, and a young civilian. They were all civilians sleeping peacefully in their home. It was supposed to be a ceasefire yesterday from the Israeli enemy.
Yeah. This is what the people are faced with constantly. Oh wait, where am I? There am I. There am I. But this is their reality. Every time there is a negotiation, they undermine it. Every time there is an attempt, they undermine it. And frankly, I don't know how Iran has restrained itself, has been so restrained. I would lose my crap completely. But it just shows the level, I wouldn't say of tolerance, I would say of leadership, that Iran has truly exemplified in this regard, to be constantly provoked. All of your military leaders have been assassinated. I will be in retaliatory mode. I will be guns blazing I will be guns blazing. Let's just put it that way. The fact that they have still, no matter how many times they've been betrayed by these peace talks, they still show up to have a talk, to have a conversation, to try to arrive at some type of peace. It just speaks so much volume about them, right? It speaks so much volume about them. And no matter how many times Israel tries to scuttle these talks, they continue to show up. It just shows their true intention, and good on them. So as I mentioned, right as the high level teams were arriving in Switzerland, right? Israel attacking Lebanon, killing dozens of people. In fact, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz openly declared that their forces would operate without any restrictions. Okay, deliberately thumbing his nose at the peace process. They don't care. Why? Because a peaceful, stabilized Middle East destroys the narrative of endless conflict that keeps their political class in power. It's all about power and greed and control, and they would do anything to have that. They want to provoke Iran into an aggressive response that would force the Iranians delegation to walk out of Switzerland. That's what they wanted to do. But yet again, Iran saw right through the trap. By maintaining their strategic posture, Iran ensured that the high-level talks concluded successfully, leaving the warmongers isolated on the global stage yet again. And they hate that. Well, let's lay out the exact concrete outcomes of what was just agreed upon in Switzerland as the high-level session wrapped up. Okay, let's take a look at actually what they were able to accomplish here. So I'm going to take this full screen. Oh, not that full screen. I want to take this full screen. There we go. So, and let me know if you can see my screen okay, by the way, that I'm not just sharing here. Number one, I shouldn't take this full. Number one, return of nuclear inspectors. This was reported by Reuters. So Iran has never hesitated to have inspections done of its facilities. Yet Israel, on the other hand, as I mentioned, even though they have stockpile of nuclear weapons, have never allowed any inspections to be done. And you think about fairness and justice in the world order in a multipolar world, thinking that the UN and the Security Council, the IAEA will demand that Israel's weapons be inspected, a nuclear stockpile be inspected. Yet they pretend as if to say it doesn't exist and they continue to look the other way. But Iran, on the other hand, continues to be open to allowing inspectors, the IAEA inspectors, to come to his door, even though they know that they're not operating in good faith. In fact, there have been reports that the IAEA director was operating and colluding with Israel against Iran. Those reports are out there. You only need to look them up. We have to learn together. Number two, the second outcome out of that meeting, technical nuclear negotiations will continue, where both sides agree to move the discussion to a technical level to address verification, enrichment, and monitoring issues. This was reported by Axios. Number three, temporary sanctions relief. The U.S. issued temporary sanction waivers allowing Iran to export oil while talks continue, as they should. Iran is a large oil producer. Africa is dying, struggling for oil because we import oil. We do not have the ability to refine our oil unless or outside of what Dangote is doing currently. I applaud him for it. I wish we have more Dangotes because we import 80 to 90% of everything that we consume. And that's why this war has been so tasking for Africa. In every single way, from food to everything. It's just been wild. So having more oil on the market is going to be definitely good. In fact, the oil price tumbled because of that news. Iran had been sanctioned for many, many years and could not sell their oil on international markets, so that's very good. Number four, a 60-day interim framework roadmap. The parties establish a 60-day period to negotiate a comprehensive agreement. Let's just pray that this little cat, cats are good. This little rat doesn't make its way again into the cheese and just mess everything up. Within 60 days, let's just pray for the world, for the sake of the world, for the sake of the world. Let peace reign for once. So let's see what happened within the 60 days. And then number five, mechanism to keep the Strait of Hormuz open. As we mentioned, the Strait of Hormuz is responsible for 20 to 30% of logistics that makes its way around the world from the Gulf states, of course. It's been closed by Iran, rightfully so, has been devastating to the world's economy. So very much appreciative of that. Number six, regional de-escalation measures, arrangement related to Lebanon and the broader regional tension, including a de-escalation mechanism, please. Why continue to bomb people in Lebanon? Like, I don't understand this insatiable desire for blood, to continue to kill and murder people and children and feel nothing for it. It just baffles me. So de-escalation, it's absolutely required, and I really hope that they discontinue the bombing of Lebanon, and let's just all pray for the sake of the world. Number seven, the management of frozen Iranian assets. It needs to be unfrozen. There's no reason for Iran to want to do business with the U.S. in good faith. It's like you say your friend's selling something and you give them money to purchase that item, and then they just hold your money, like, I'm not give it back to you for many, many years. And no matter what you do, they're like, nope, I'm not going to give it back to you. So I'm glad that this is part of this, because they do need to unfreeze Iranian assets, especially after the level of devastation they've done to their country. They need every type of resources right now to rebuild. Number eight, humanitarian and prisoner-related discussions including humanitarian channels and potential prisoner swap mechanisms. This is very critical. I wish this extended to Palestine. because what is happening currently in Palestine that was implemented by the Israeli parliament is to essentially assassinate Palestinian prisoners. I find that to be, I think evil is not the word. To be celebrating something like that, that Palestinian prisoners like should get murdered, it just speaks to the character of these people. And look, there are some good Jews, right, or good Jewish people, but their leadership right now and what the country is propagating, what the country and their leadership is advocating is just devilish, and we have to call it out. Their hands are in a lot of really devious activities around the world, and we must continue to speak out and stand up for what's right and stand up for justice at all cost. I want to dive a little bit into what this means for Africa. So let's pivot to the angle that the corporate networks will completely ignore. You're not going to find this. The massive economic ripple effects hitting the African continent right now. Why should Africa care about a concluded summit in Switzerland? Why? Why? You should care. For African oil importing countries, the conclusion of this summit is an absolute lifesaver. And as I said, most of the continent import oils. So nations like Kenya, even the very South Africa, which is very interesting, Ethiopia, Morocco, Ghana, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Cote d'Ivoire, the list goes on. They have truly been economically strangled by rampant inflation driven by the Middle East war. You know, with the US Treasury 60-day waiver legally flooding the market with Iranian crude, you know, global energy prices will hopefully continue to hit all-time lows. We saw it today going down. We hope that it continues to go down. This will also immediately lower domestic transit costs across Africa. It will drop food prices because, as we know, oil prices and all of that ties into agriculture and food and all of that. And it would just create a lot of relief from the pressures that the continent has been struggling with, especially with their local currencies just, going to dirt. Furthermore, we have to understand that the stabilizing of the Strait of Hormuz means shipping lanes are normalizing. That is very important. Cargo vessels can no longer have to will no longer have to ditch the Red Sea to take a much longer route that they were using. Hyper expensive detours around Africa, the Cape of Good Hope, restoring sanity to global trade networks, which is critical. You know, but we keep it completely uncensored here, and as we should. The post-summit reality is a severe budgetary shock for African oil producers because the governments of Nigeria and Angola and Algeria built their national budgets on high oil prices, which is another story that we're going to get into. I mean, it's a good thing that you have Nigeria producing oil, you have Angola producing oil, and people or countries like Algeria. But why focus? Why make high oil prices centric to your budget? It is, I want to say, is exploitative in itself. So with Iran triumphantly returning to the market and stabilizing the price to flow downwards, you know, these African exporters are facing sudden and massive state deficits. Funding for local infrastructure, public services, and debt management across these exporting nations is now in serious jeopardy. And I think Africa or to just maintain a level of flexibility when it comes to their economic infrastructure and not be reliant on a single product. It becomes a choke point. It becomes a single point of failure very easily when something happens that triggers it, right? It becomes severely impacted, and the entire economy crashes if it's built on that one product. If it's an economy like Ghana is built on gold, right, and the gold price crashes, like the Ghanaian economy will crash. Or Liberia is built on what? Iron ore. And if that crashes, well, we know the story. The high-level sessions in Switzerland have concluded, and the geopolitical landscape have permanently shifted. The initial Islamabad MOU, the 14-point MOU as I cover, has successfully transitioned into a hard 60-day roadmap. Maybe all of the attempts to scuttle was good, to recalibrate the world and let them understand how important it was to move towards peace. This is a massive victory achieved through Iran's undeniable strategic restraint against regional oppressors. The all waivers are live, the technical teams are working, and the shipping corridors have a path to stability. You can bet that the warmongering political class in Jerusalem is already drafting plans to shatter the 60-day window. We will be right here watching their every move, as we should. They're definitely going to try. I can't wait. 2 days from now, 3 days from now, you will see something in the headline: Israel broke the ceasefire agreement, and Israel that doesn't. Let's hope it doesn't happen, but I would not be surprised. In any case, you have been watching Fanta Kamara Uncensored today, and as always, we have made a commitment to remain completely unfiltered and cover issues that the Western media would not dare to dive into, especially in the way that we do here, because they are committed to a certain narrative, and that's the narrative that does not serve the people. Here on Fanta Kamara Uncensored, it is just that. We are very much uncensored. And so you, as my partners in crime, have a responsibility here, and that is to share this information with everyone that you know. Make sure you share it with your family, with your socials, because once again, the more enlightened we are, the more knowledgeable we are, the more empowered we are to contribute to not just the discourse of our nations, but to the global world and the geopolitics of the world. Everything that is happening around the world impacts you that is sitting in your little living room, in your house, in your kitchen, wherever you are. Understand that the world is connected. We are a global community. We are much smaller than you think. And with that, I will be signing off. I thought it was really important to bring this to you tonight. Let's continue to have this discussion about what this means for Africa. Please share with me your thoughts in the comment section. Please share with me any information that you will come across that you think would be really great for me to cover regarding this topic or any other topic. Here at Uncensored, we're here for the people, and I think if it wasn't for the people, I would just not be motivated to do this at all. So I'm grateful, I'm honored, and I'm glad to have you as my partners in crime. Until next time, hasta la vista, as they say, right? Hasta la vista. I signing.
It's a Liberian thing, you just a labyrinth calling me. It's just a labyrinth calling me. It's just a labyrinth calling me.